Hi friends, Mindy here. I have a little process video for you today. I'm going to be setting up my journal to work through Behold the Lord from Bythewell4god. I am starting out with a little box here that I've already cut down to size. This is just a wheat thins box, and I am going to be covering this with some stone paper. This is some paper from American Crafts, and it's just a good, sturdy, durable paper that I can paint on, and it takes paint well. And so I'm going to start with trimming this down so that I can cover this journal. You could certainly paint directly onto the chipboard if you wanted to, but I like having, I know that I'm going to be adding several layers of paint and stuff, and so I don't want to take the chance of like, sometimes the chipboard can get, it gets curly or whatever. So this stone paper will just help with all of that. So I'm just going to use some score tape, or this is the scrapbook.com version. It's just double-sided, really super sticky tape. And I'm going to trim that down to size, cover the entire cover. You can see I'm missing a size. I've been out for a while. I need to order some more, but so there's like a little strip that does not have any adhesive on there, which I'm going to fix. I'm going to show you how I do that, but you can kind of see right there where there's no adhesive. So I'm going to start just kind of working in sections, and I am going to pull the release paper back just one section at a time, just to make sure that I'm getting everything adhered really well. And in that one section that doesn't have any adhesive, I'm just going to come in with some Yoo-Hoo glue stick, and this is just going to make sure that everything, I didn't want my paper to kind of like bubble up in that one section where there was no adhesive. So I just used a glue stick for that, and it should be fine. So, now I'm just going to kind of pull back this front cover, make sure everything is stuck down really well, and then I can go ahead and do these other sections. Again, just adding the paper. This was a little tricky to work with because I'm at the end of my roll of this stone paper, and it just wants to stay curled. But you can see I'm just going through and like refolding the spine just to make sure that everything is going to stay. You'll see me do this multiple times throughout this process just to kind of keep everything working the way that I want it to, make sure that that stays folded. And then around each of the corners, I'm going to kind of cut this little notch out just to kind of get rid of some of the excess on there. And then I also cut those little V's at the where the spine is on each of those. That's just going to make for a better coverage of this and keep the bulk out of the spine. And then I'm going to go around here with my bone folder and really just kind of score and fold this stone paper. And then I don't have, like I said, I don't have the right size. So what I did is I took my roll of score tape and I just went around the middle with an X-Acto knife to get kind of the size that I really need for this section. I have another roll of this size. So, I'm not worried about, cutting through a layer or whatever. It'll be fine. And I was able to do this all the way around, and then I'll just cover all the little sections with this. You can see how I've done here. And I'm going to start with pulling these release papers. I'm going to start with the two short sides first, and just kind of making sure to burnish that down really well. And then I will do the opposite side. Anytime you're covering a book cover or anything, you really want to do the opposite sides first. And so you want to go, if you're going to do the short sides, do both of those, and then do the long sides, or vice versa. But you don't want to kind of just go clockwise around, if that makes sense. And then I wanted to show on this last corner here, I did use a little bit of liquid adhesive just on that one side where there was no exposed adhesive. And then here where there was just a little bit that was sticking out past the paper that I had, I'm just pulling that up with a gum eraser. It's just a way to pull up some of that adhesive that's on there. So this is kind of where I'm at with my cover. And I'm inspired by these papers from By the Well. They're just so beautiful, and I love the textures and everything. And so I'm going to try to recreate that. Now, normally on a cover, I would have gone ahead and, put some paper on the inside, but I know that this is going to get painty. And so I'm going to start with the paint, and then we'll cover the inside afterwards. So I cannot tell you all of the colors in which order that I put them, because it was I was going back and forth, but I will tell you most of the colors that I used. They are distress paints. This top color that I'm using here is antique linen, and I ended up trying to cover most of this up because it was just much more yellow than I really wanted. But that is the first color that I'm putting down here, and I'm just dry brushing this on. I want there to be some lighter parts and some darker parts, and then I'm coming in, I think this one is frayed burlap. and just kind of blending those in, blending the two of them together. The Distress Paint is a wonderful product if you've never used it. It's one of the only Distress products that, is permanent when it dries, obviously. So it's not going to react. This one, I believe... That one is pumice stone. Like I said, I went back and forth with a lot of these colors. And so I used also weathered wood, hickory smoke. I used some speckled egg. I used some stormy sky and some uncharted mariner. And then I also used a mixed media paint from Dina Wakley, which is in the color of sand. So you can see down here, I'm adding that uncharted mariner down there just a little bit. I didn't want that to be too overpowering, just down here at the bottom, and just kind of blending everything in. You'll see there's lots of brush strokes in here. I'm not worried about it. And I'm going back through and kind of now overlapping some of the layers. This paint dries really quick, especially on this particular stone paper. And so I'm just kind of going in and adding a few little bits of color here. I'm not trying to allude to sand and sky or anything like this. I'm really after just the colors and textures. And then I let all of that dry, and then I came in with another layer of color again, and a fairly dry brush. But now I want to add the texture. So you can kind of see the brush strokes and stuff in here, and I'm not worried about that. I am using some golden product. It's called molding paste, and really it just kind of helps give the paint a little bit extra body. The distress paints are really fluid, and so this just sort of helps you to be able to add some texture with it, which is what I'm doing here. So I mixed this medium, this molding paste in with my my paints here, and then I'm applying this basically with the back of a palette knife. So I'm just kind of skimming over the top and letting it kind of grip where it wants to, and then I'm just going to go back over, and I'm doing this kind of color by color again, kind of now working back up toward the top. So again, I'm adding some weathered wood. Now these colors are going to be a little bit not as vibrant because there is this white molding paste in there. And so some of the colors I mixed together, a couple of like the grays, just to make it more the color that I wanted. But this is all just kind of how you want to do it. And so I'm kind of going back and forth now. You can see I'm adding that scorched timber down at the very bottom, just in little places. And so I'm kind of skimming along the surface. And then as this journal is kind of taking the paint, it's kind of curling, so you'll see me kind of hold it down. I want to make sure that it's nice and flat because that'll just help the palette knife skim over the top of it a little bit better. And then I'm even kind of just tapping just to give like ridges and stuff in the paint. I want this to be very, very textured. And then I worked my way kind of up to the top and added more of like the pumice stone and frayed burlap kind of up at the top, again trying to cover up that antique linen. And then I came back through with my brush here. It's kind of a dry brushing just to kind of blend in some color, again just really trying to cover up that most of that antique linen, not all of it, but I just wanted to knock it back just a little bit. It was a little bit too much for me, and so I'll just kind of keep playing with this until I get it the way that I want, which looks like this when it's finished and it's dried. And I did come on the inside with I think that was maybe weathered wood on the inside, just to add a little bit so that I didn't have a white border. And then I'm going to pick a couple of the pattern papers to cover all of the inside of this. So what I ended up doing is I went with this dark kind of navy, and it's got this shell motif in the background. I just really liked the dark contrast on there, and so I'm going to cover that with that same double-sided adhesive and glue these down. So I already cut them down and everything. Didn't make you watch all of that because you've seen me do this a zillion times probably, but this is one of my favorite ways to work through the devotionals, is this type of journal. So I am taking my bone folder here and just very gently kind of scoring along this where the spine is going to be, just making sure that that fold is going to bend. I don't want that paper to crack. It's a really good thick paper, and so I just want to kind of work the spine pieces. So you can see I'm just kind of bending it back and forth and making sure that it's going to stay in the shape that I want it. And then this is what it's going to look like. And I'm going to do the twine binding on here. This is kind of actually, I think, what I did in February as well. And it's just a really good way that because I can pull the pages out, work on them, and then put them back in this journal. And so what I'm going to do, I'm starting with some baker's twine that is just in this brown and white color. And then I have this roll, and it wants to roll everywhere. So I'm just going to take this little mason jar and toss it down in there so I can kind of just pull from it and it won't go crazy. So I'm going to obviously wrap this around so that I can do 14 days. So basically 14 signatures. And then I have one coming, you know, from the top and one coming from the bottom. I'm going to cross them over each other on the outside, and then the one on the left goes underneath all 14 strings, and then you just tie a knot. I'm going to leave these long for now. I will probably come back and add some beads or something to the end of this, but I want to kind of do that after the journal is finished, and then so I'll show that in if I get to it, I will show it in the flip through when I do this at the end of the month. But and so then I just tied a bow, just wanted to keep all of those strings long, and then that is going to be it. I'm just going to show you really quickly that I have the paper already cut. This is Bristol vellum paper. It's one of my favorite papers to use for these kinds of things. It can take a lot of media, and so I tend to use it a lot. And now I'm going to work on just decorating the cover just a little bit more. So I am going to use one of the die cut pieces, the ephemera pieces from the devotional, and it's this lighthouse one. I'm just reinforcing it. This is actually the backer for the stencils, which is like really, really thick. And so I just adhere that down. I'm going to fussy cut that out, and that's just going to reinforce that a little bit because I'm going to be putting it on like foam dots, and I just want to make sure that it's nice and secure. And then I did go around the outside of that with archival ink and ground espresso just to distress it and knock back some of that white. And then I have this white, or not white, it's like a tan, unbleached, I guess is what it would be called, cheesecloth. And I'm just kind of spreading it around. I thought it looked kind of like netting, and so I used some foam adhesive on the back of my little lighthouse there, and some of the areas where it was a little bit thick, it wasn't kind of sticking all the way through. So I did add some, this is some not Barely Arts, art glitter glue behind there, and I'm just kind of getting this where I want it, and I'm just tucking a little bit of adhesive here and there underneath there to make it kind of stay where I want. And then I'm coming in with some Helmar 450 quick dry. This is another glue. It's just a really strong adhesive, and I'm using this to kind of adhere these little shells down, and then I'm going to come back through and just randomly make sure that my little cheesecloth isn't going to go anywhere. So this is how my journal looked for this month. This is what I'm going to be working through. So if you like this video, I would appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and until next time, bye.